Indiana County 911. My brother's gone. Can you be a little more specific, sir? He took my brother. Who took him? I don't know who took him. I don't know what. Sir, they've done. Take a breath. Explain to me what happened.
And I looked out and there was this big red blinking UFO.
I can just say this. Something's going on in the woods. Something's going on.
They're not dogs, they're not coyotes. What could it be, right?
I had an encounter with a skunk ape, and it completely altered the course of my life.
I found a skull. I think you guys are going to want to come film this.
Put him out, put him out, put him out, put him out, put him out.
Put him out. I just say it.
Sightings of a UFO hovering over a barn.
Millie woke up from a dream, and when I went into the bedroom, she said there's a monster on the wall.
They saw that the creature had run through a barbed wire fence. They were able to obtain hairs. They sent the hairs to their lab, and it came back as an unknown creature.
Bizarre Encounters with Shayn Orin.
What is up, Bizarrites, and welcome back to the most bizarre show on the interweb. I am the one that they call Sasquatch.
And I am the big bad Boo Daddy Orin Felix.
The biggest, baddest of all the Boo Daddies. And
yeah, something like that.
Trying to mix it up for you, like that new little intro thing. Call them Bizarrites. It's kind of like Deadites from Evil Dead, but they're bizarres. So that's what we can call them now, is the Bizarrites. And
they're
interwebs.
Bizarre and they're all right.
Yeah, because they're bizarre and they're all right. They're the Bizarrites. So welcome, guys, to the club of the Bizarrites. You guys are officially Bizarrites if you've listened to at least one episode. So welcome to the club, my friends.
So kind of jumping into news and updates. First off, I got to give a bit of a shout out. Over the weekend, one of my childhood best friends, a guy I've known for 30 years, texted me out of the blue. He stumbled across our show somehow.
Hell yeah.
He said that he had listened to the Jack Parsons series and was enjoying it. I'm not going to mention him by name because I didn't ask him if I could shout him out. But if he's listening, he knows who he is. But I thought that was pretty cool. And then in further news and updates, like we've been saying for the past few weeks, Cryptid Halloween 3 is the next event we're going to be at. It is Saturday, the 26th of October from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Ranson Civic Center in Ranson, West Virginia. This is an event put on by our good buddy Dave, a.k.a. the Snarly Yow. It's a free event, and me and Shane will be speaking and emceeing. So if you guys are in the area, definitely check it out. It's going to be a fun event.
And actually, that's going to be this weekend, because when this episode drops, we're recording this the week prior, but Wednesday, it's actually this weekend now for people listening to this.
That is true. So
and
it'll be very near in the future.
And as far as speaking goes, we kind of mixed it up. I don't know if we actually told people in the episode, but we decided that we're going to do a live podcast because that's, what we're good at. So if anybody wants to watch us do this shit show live, come out to Snarly Yow's Cryptid Halloween. Why not?
I was going to say, Shane, don't kid yourself. We're not really good at anything. But.
I just said shit show, man. I gotta give it credit for what it is, right?
No, you said we're going to do a live podcast because that's what we're good at. And I would venture that we're not really good at that either. But.
Well, we got to clean it up. So we'll call it a crap show. We can't call it a shit show because it's going to be an all age event. So we'll call it a crap show. Welcome to the crap show, everybody.
A defecation expose.
It's going to be a magical fiasco.
There you go. All right. Tell everybody about the rest of the magical fiascos we got going on.
So the rest of the magical fiasco, everybody, is I announced it last week. Then this new little tea company I'm working on that's creature-inspired teas. The first flavor that I dropped is the 2 different variations of the Sasquatch blend. But if anybody's interested in trying that out, I will have it for the first event at also the Snarly Yow's Cryptid Halloween. So if anybody wants to also try that, they can do that. And also trying to figure out exactly how to set up like a website and stuff for it. But if anybody is interested in trying it, I set up an Instagram page for Bizarre Teas. It's down in the show description if anybody wants to check it out. There's a learn more option that's down at the bottom, and I actually made that into an order form. So if anybody wants to pick up some tea, that's one way to go and do it. On the other side of things, this podcast has a strong focus on community engagement, so I encourage all listeners to share their own experiences on the show for encounter reports. And if anybody wants to submit something for an encounter report, there's a couple different ways to do so. Either one, if you want to be featured on the show, you guys can call into the hotline, which that number is 313-364-1551. Leave a recording of your experience, and I will feature you in upcoming shows. The other way that you guys can do it is you guys can either type it out or you guys can also just record a message and email it to me at ommencounterreports@outlook.com. And let me know what you guys want to do with those. I intend to hopefully use them for shows, but of course I will clarify with you before anything gets posted on the show, because if anybody just wants somebody to talk about these experiences with, or they want somebody to come and investigate and they don't want any of it on the show whatsoever, totally okay. I can definitely do that. And if I'm not in the area, I can find somebody that is in the area to investigate this stuff, but just let me know what you guys want to do with these encounters. But I will verify again before they get thrown on the show.
And also, you guys be sure to submit questions or articles or videos or just anything that you want us to inquire about. Submit those questions and whatnot for Bizarre Inquiries, or used to be Patreon exclusive mini show, but is now on the YouTubes. So
except for when we get
go wrong?
Really unhinged. Those ones will still be on the Patreon because we don't want to get canceled off of YouTube. But for the most part, yes, that is going to be 100% on YouTube now for you guys, besides the really, really raunchy stuff like our UFO abduction probing episode that we did a couple weeks ago. That one has to stay on Patreon, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, you got to pay for that shit.
But every single thing that we mention is all available on the link tree, which is available down in the show description. So without further ado, let's get into the show.
Okay, y'all. So tonight's guest is an absolute legend in the field of cryptozoology. He needs no introduction. We are beyond honored to have the great Mr. Ron Morehead join us tonight. Mr. Morehead, thank you so much for joining us and being on the show.
Oh, thank you for asking me. It's my pleasure. My honor. I love these things.
Trust us, the honor is all ours. I know Shayn and I have both had the privilege of meeting you on multiple occasions at different events and whatnot. So it'll be great to have you on the show and kind of pick your brain a little bit.
After having him on the show, it'll be even more fun. We get to see him next time because we'll have had a whole conversation.
Absolutely. We'll be old friends by then. But
all right.
So, Mr. Morehead, for the few people out there who probably might not have heard about you and your illustrious career, would you tell people a little bit about your Sierra Sounds and kind of how you got involved into all this Bigfoot business and kind of what's led you to this point?
Well, this point remains to be seen. I'm still growing, but yeah, it started for me in 1971. I was part of a hunting group in the high mountains of Sierra Nevada, California. And anyway, the two Johnson brothers, who've been going up there since 1958, came out with this wild story about some kind of a big creature up there, several of them, that was coming around the camp at night. So the other hunters, which I wasn't a part of at the time, but they were all my friends, they had to go up there and see what was going on. So they all went back up and started encountering these things that left great big footprints in the ground. And anyway, one of the guys got scared off so bad he wouldn't go back, so he came out and told the wives, yeah, the Johnson brothers are right, there's some kind of monster up there. So he was just shaking. So anyway, he needed to go back to see if they were all right because they hadn't came out when they were supposed to, and nobody knew what they were dealing with at the time. They didn't know. The wives didn't know if the guys had been eaten or carried away or hurt or whatever. So they said he got to go back and see if they're okay. He didn't want to go back by himself. He took me, and he asked me if I'd go with him. And I was all anxious too, because it's kind of exciting to me, you know. I was 29 then, and nothing can hurt you when you're 29, you know. You just go. So anyway, we trekked up there, and he about killed me getting in. It's quite a trip, but I thought I was in good shape. But when you get up to 10,000 feet, when you've been working out down to sea level, it's a little different, you know. Air's a lot lighter, and but we made it. The guys were okay, so I started going back as often as I could, and I saw my first track there. They showed it to me, and the guys were okay. They just were experiencing some more stuff, so they didn't want to come out yet. So that's how I got involved, and we all started taking tape recorders back with us, and these things kept coming around camp at night. And we started recording them. And in 1972, we took Alan Berry, and he was a reporter, led to us by Ivan Sanderson to start with, who wrote a letter to Peter Byrne asking if he wanted to check that out. And he thought it like Peter Byrne did, that it was probably just somebody pulling their leg. But he got a hold of Alan Berry, who was an investigative reporter, and Alan came down and interviewed us and ended up going up there in 1972 and recording the same thing and trying to uncover a hoax, really. I didn't know all this, so I read the correspondence between them all. It's kind of funny. Not funny, but we knew there was something real up there, but they were still trying to do their job and uncover something some fun making or some kind, I guess. But anyway, that's how I got started. And I just kept going back, and these things would still come around at night. And they would come around the daytime when we were away from the camp, too. We found their tracks around our shelter there. So that's how it got started for me. And it's called the Sierra Sounds, and I decided to publish Al Berry's story on a CD, and that was late 1990s somewhere. And then he encouraged me to do one of my own with my sounds that I recorded in 1974, my interactive sounds. So that's what I did. Then he encouraged me to write a book. so excuse me, I've written 3 books so far, and this came out with another one here recently. So anyway, that's where I'm at. And I love questions, but I've done this research now all over the world. I've been in Nepal, I've been into Siberia, I've been into Russia, I've been into South America, Peru, Bolivia, checking stuff out, that's enigmatic, and see if there's anything compares to what we were encountering up there, because it's kind of unique. I mean, the things that were going on was very, very enigmatic, and couldn't answer them with classical science, because Al Berry had a master's degree in science. He's the guy we took up there. He said, don't talk about the weird stuff up here. You'll never be able to talk to anybody. They just laugh you off the planet. Well, so we didn't for a long time, but I do now, and I have for quite a while now, because it happened, and I found out from my interviewing other people over the years that it's happened to quite a few people, and no one was fortunate like we were to actually record these things and have them studied, because we had them studied, the sounds anyway. Al Berry fostered them from the University of Wyoming to get a electrical sound engineer to study them to make sure that the sounds were credible, and they were no speeding up, no slowed down, no nothing, and other than they were inside, outside, above, and below the human range. And he showed that in a graph, Professor Curlin. And anyway, he also said that one of the little sound bites represented an animal 8 foot tall, and it was kind of unique. Then we had Scott Nelson, who was a cryptolinguist, got a hold of him in 2008 by accident. And anyway, Scott said these things have a language. Now, he's a cryptolinguist, so trained by the Navy, 2-time graduate of the Naval Institute of Foreign Languages in Monterey, and had him vetted well, so he's credible. And he said they have a language, and that's pretty unique. We knew they were talking to each other, but we didn't know what they were saying. We just knew there was a lot of chatter going on, similar to what Albert Ostman said in Canada when he got kidnapped, years and years ago. He reported that to John Green in his book, The Apes Among Us. And he said they were chattering amongst themselves. He was held captive for 6 days and by a male, a female, and 2 adolescents. And he said they were chattering. So anyway, that's what they do. They chatter really rapidly. At least that's what ours were doing, and that's what it sounded like his was doing. So anyway, there's that. But then all of a sudden I get Dr. Philip Lieberman at Brown University, a cognitive researcher, PhD. He's passed away now, but he was a professor of that. He studied the language in humans. Also great apes. Excuse me, I got a little throat thing going on here.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Oh, I know. You won't catch it from there. I know you. But anyway, Dr. Lieberman says only humans, I want to say that real clear because it's very important, only humans have the vocal mechanism for language. Chimpanzees don't. No great ape does other than humans. And to me, that puts it together. They have to have a human component to them because that's just the way it is. I got a whole chapter of that in my new book, too, Bigfoot Unveiled, about how I come to that conclusion. And it is a conclusion I don't think anybody can argue with unless they want to argue with professors. I don't try to convince people these things exist. I just let them look at the facts and what we've discovered through scientific method. And it's a quantum science. It's not, well, at least some of the mysteries are answerable by quantum science. There's what they call the paranormal and the woo-woo factor. And people used to say, "Oh, you're a woo-wooer." Well, okay. So was Einstein. So was Tesla. So I'm in their class. So that's all right with me.
That's a compliment.
Yeah.
All right, y'all, we got to take a break and pay some bills. But if y'all want to stay up to date with the show, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Discord. Just do all the internet things. And now back to the show.
But anyway, I found out that the paranormal, the woo-woo, really isn't strange. It's just answerable by the laws of quantum physics. And quantum physics, according to Dr. Christopher Brer at West Texas A&M, is how everything works from the atom through the cosmos. Everything. We just live in a three-dimensional environment, so everything has to be answerable by Newtonian physics, which is 1687 laws that we all learned in the 5th grade. Anyway, there's where I go. And I can just keep going, but, stop me just any time and ask me something.
Well, no, speaking of kind of the more quantum side of things, I know I've read your book, The Quantum Bigfoot, and I believe Shayn has as well.
Absolutely. I got it on the shelf here right behind me.
Yeah, so...
Oh, good.
I think it's pretty interesting that you kind of popularized this idea of the quantum or more woo-woo type Bigfoot activity, because I think me and Shayn both kind of adhere to that camp and that school of thought. Would you mind talking a little bit about what led you to the conclusion that there's something beyond just flesh and blood going on with these Bigfoot type creatures?
Sure. Yeah, the mysteries that went on up there. I mean, the things we couldn't answer, the lights, the sounds that we couldn't identify, and I don't mean the vocalizations. I mean, the metallic sounds. Pardon me. I had COVID last week. I'm over it now, so don't you guys worry.
Ooh, that's rough, man.
Well, we hope you're feeling better, Mr. Morehead.
Oh, I feel okay. It's just this little cough I still got left over. Anyway, I was on the West Coast filming back there, and then I got back and had to go to Kentucky, and I was filming up there for a day, and then flew back and just got back a few days ago. So caught it somewhere. I don't know where.
Got to be the airport. That'd be my best guess.
Could be. Yeah, a lot of people there.
Mm-hmm.
However, what was I talking about? Quantum physics?
Yes, sir. And
just
a little bit about how.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let me tell you a couple of things that happened up there, which I tell on most of the time. Is one time we thought our camp was being tore apart. We was inside our shelter. This is when the Bigfoot stuff was going on. These things, whatever they were, big monsters. But we looked out there later and nothing changed. How do you explain that, One time we heard, I thought I heard a car door slamming out there, and that's impossible. We're 8 miles in the wilderness, there's no way a car can get up there, much less.
You hear about that one a lot, specifically the car doors. Like, I'm not sure if it's a mimicking sound or what, but you hear that a lot with Sasquatch stuff.
They do mimic that stuff, I think. They have a vocal mechanism that's much more expansive than ours. Well, anyway, we had mysteries going on up there, and mysteries that you couldn't answer with Newtonian physics, which is everything measurable, predictable, and physical, and, everything we see in our three-dimensional environment. So, however, I found out because of Al Berry, he says, got to stay with science, whatever you do. So the science that answers this, I believe, is quantum science, because it goes beyond what we can do in our three dimensions.
Just a slight question, because you kind of made a little bit of reference to it. You mentioned the metallic sounds. Does that seem? I know you don't necessarily dive into the Dogman stuff, but does that seem like it kind of parallels with what some of the people reference as far as Dogman stuff, where you could kind of consider that Dogman might be kind of coming from the same kind of quantum realm, and that metallic noise has something to do with the quantum aspect of this?
Well, it's if you want to get into hybridization, yeah, I believe the Dogman exists down. I've been around there, LBL, with those guys down there. I certainly can't talk them out of it. I know that. And one of them's a retired deputy, and he's seen one face to face, and he can't be denied. I mean, that guy is Martin Groves, good man.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah. So anyway, Yeah, I believe that a lot of aliens are coming here and have been coming here for eons, since before Homo sapiens, actually. And it gets deep. It gets all the way back into Mesopotamia and the cuneiform texts and what really went on back there, which you read about in your current Bible. But it's about all current stories from all different cultures are derived, have a core from the cuneiform text, which is the first written language known, and including our Hebrew Bible. So I was raised religiously, so I knew the Bible pretty well, and I studied it a lot. So I wanted to find out where giants came from in our Bible, and it doesn't, excuse me, it only goes so far. And you have to dig a little deeper to find out what really went on. And you find that out through the cuneiform text, and they've been interpreted now, and a lot of them have. There's over 10,000 of them so far been translated. So really, it's kind of important people delve into that and find out what we're all about and how those first few chapters of Genesis in our Bible came about, because it really covers several hundred thousands of years, in the cuneiform text. And but there's the fallen ones, which is in the Bible, the Anunnaki. We want to get right into that, because it gets into, they did special things. They were shiny people. They were big people. They could do a lot of stuff. That's what kickstarted the human race. But they genetically mutated. They're genetically formed. Actually, let us make man in our image. That was Anunnaki, and that goes against a lot of religions, because I won't think there's just one single something that did it. But no, it was. Anyway, I encourage anybody to look into that if they want to know more about it, because it's so complex, but it's so good. It makes so much sense to me. And but they manipulated the genome of the caveman, basically the troglodytes, and they made humans, and they can manipulate the genome of any species. That's where I think the dogman might come from, probably where Bigfoot may have come from. But I think there's more than one type of these Bigfoot creatures, because there's been many types of aliens on this planet. But anyway, the mysteries that went on up there with the sounds, sometimes we thought we heard a herd of horses running down towards our camp, and that wasn't happening. And time I thought I heard a big tuning fork, a big humming sound up above us. This in daytime, and you never could find the source of it. Metallic sounds I heard in 2011 when I was up there. There was I wished my recorder stopped working. I had a brand new lithium battery in it. I couldn't record it, but this went on about 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was just you couldn't explain it. I mean, there's nothing up there that would do that you could see. And so those are the things that we have to try to answer. That's, they happened. They happened to a lot of people. And also why we didn't see them more often. I only got a glimpse of one night, and all the years I've been going up there, that's all I've ever seen with my 2 eyes. However, in quantum physics, was a guy named Paul Dirac, who won the Nobel Prize in 1933 for antimatter. That's the direct exchange between matter and energy, because we are at the most minute level of our existence, energy, vibrating at a frequency. Einstein said, if you find the frequency of anything, you can change its matter. Well, that's kind of a bold statement, How do you change matter? You can change matter if you get on the right frequency. Everything is made with frequency. So, Paul Dirac, antimatter, was affirmed by CERN 2012. The Hadron Collider created energy. You can't see energy with your regular eyes, but you can see particles. And two particles collided and made energy. So matter and energy are interchangeable. Now, Bigfoot is energy, like we are, like everything is. If they have learned to get the frequency to change their matter into energy, they wouldn't be seen anymore. They would just go out of our perception. We only see within 430 and 770 terahertz. That's our light's frequency. Light has frequency. Everything has a frequency. There's all these other frequencies out there that we don't see. It's like our olfactory sense. We have a frequency that we can smell. Bears can smell 20 times better than humans can. Yet there's so much going on that we just don't see and can't sense with our human makeup. Mm-hmm. And once people realize that, they have to get out of their box, because we've all been conditioned in this thing sitting on our shoulders here. And they have to learn how to let that thing open up. It's like a parachute, you know. If it don't open, it ain't no good. Hit the ground pretty hard. But I'm saying, I just seen a guy here the other day, parachute didn't open. He couldn't. Well, anyway, that's bad deal. Yeah. So anyway, that's where I got into quantum physics, because Al Berry said, stay with science, and that is the science, I think, that answers the woo, the paranormal stuff.
I mean, that kind of might explain a lot of the stuff as far as it seems like people see these blue orbs specifically around Sasquatch. And I know a lot of people have related that to saying like they see Sasquatch faces in it, or these native looking faces, which seem to also be kind of a lot of what people describe as these Sasquatch faces. And if they're able to manipulate their energy in order to move into other places, assumably they're going to change into some other form or state of matter. So it might explain some of these blue orbs. And as far as going across like all of the different phenomena that people talk about with like ghosts, with paranormal, with extraterrestrials, all that kind of stuff with these orbs, you know, it might be that the common tie here is that all of these things know how to transfer their vibration into a different frequency so that they're able to manipulate and move. And it's not that necessarily these orbs are linked to everything. It's just a matter of they all know how to inherently use this ability to be able to shift their forms in energy and matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it kind of goes with the Skinwalker Ranch too. You know, things are going on there. And there's a new interview out, A Flash of Beauty, you know, with the Jill and Brett and Renaissance Productions. Just there's a interview with a couple guys that saw a Bigfoot 10 foot tall reduced down and turn into a light and shoot off. Now, you got to watch this if you want to, because it's kind of believable. I mean, the guy said if I didn't see it myself and my son hadn't seen it too, I wouldn't believe it.
Hold on tight, guys. We're going to take a brief commercial break. But if you guys enjoy the work we do over here and you guys want to support what we do, you guys can do it in one of three ways. You guys can either check out the Patreon, which we do have multiple tiers, all with 7-day free trials available, or you guys can go and check out the Open Minds Media merch store, where we have a lot of awesome designs for the show and a lot of awesome designs for a lot of the stuff that we talk about on the show. And number 3, you guys can always go and leave a review or rating for the show on iTunes or Spotify. And of course, if you guys leave a 5-star review, we'll read on the show and give you guys a big shout out. And we are back to the show, so let's hop right in.
There's a lot going on in the universe and through our, well, there's so much more going on than the way you can see, feel, or touch with our senses. These Newtonian physics is based on, like I say, everything you can touch and feel, and material, physical, measurable, predictable. Quantum physics is not that way. Quantum physics is how everything actually works. Everything. All these other frequencies, everything that's out there that we don't see, feel, or touch is out there. And once people realize their human limitations and what we are struggling with in this three-dimensional environment, once they realize how limited we've been brainwashed to think, that's all we can do and be. But really, we can be more. We're made to be more. And we've been limited by our DNA restrictions that have been put upon us. However, there's a way to connect with the universe, and that's, I believe, I got an article on the pineal gland in your head. I believe that's a receptor. It's the third eye that's talked about, eye of Horus from the Egyptians all the way back. And but that sends information from the universe right into your heart. And your heart has a brain of its own. In fact, it's the strongest part of your body as far as that goes. So it's got more than your brain up here does, because your brain up here controls your bodily functions. It's been conditioned to believe this, don't believe that. This is the religion you should follow. This is not. It's just been conditioned. But you got to learn to get in sequence or in rhythm with your heart and learn to go by your heart gut feeling, because that will lead you into what's right. I'm just saying that there's so much more going on than what meets the eyes. You got to get into the third eye, the consciousness, and let it, it will feed your heart with all the knowledge that's good for you. That's called a gut feeling. When you feel like you should go that way, but your brain up here says go that way, you should go by your heart feeling, and that gets you in rhythm. Coherence, what they call it. That's what the chakras are all about, is balancing your body, balancing that rhythm so that you can receive and let this brainwashed box on your head expand out and understand what's really going on. And you'll see more, and you'll hear more, and you'll understand more. I got off the mysteries that went on up there, but we had a lot of them. The last one that was recorded was in 2016. We're up there, and I had set up a little tent because we took the shelter's been dismantled. And I seen this light go by. This is in David Paulides, who wrote the forward to my book, my new book, by the way. David Paulides, The Hunted, Missing 411. Mm-hmm. And he did a real good reproduction of what we saw up there that night. Just a elongated tube of light floating by our tent, which definitely was being controlled. So it was an intelligence. That's what light orbs are. They're the form of intelligence, energy. And everything is energy. You got to say on that one. So I wonder sometimes if these things weren't around us a lot more, where they were, than we could see, and how that happened was through vibration, I believe. And anyway.
So I guess this might be a good spot to bring this up, because it'll kind of lead way into a new part of conversation, possibly even kind of going into your new book a bit. The last time I'd had you on Inquiries, obviously everybody knows that there's some type of a connection between Sasquatch and forests and trees, but you had brought up that you believe that you had figured out something as far as what their connection is specifically to the trees. If you'd like to get into that a bit, I'd love to hear what your theories and ideas are.
Good timing for that. I just talked about energy. If they have learned to get the frequency, and I believe they have a very expensive, in fact they do, that's been established now by science, a very expensive vocal mechanism. If they can reach the frequency that would change their matter into energy, you wouldn't see them any longer. That would also account for the trackways stopping. A lot of people report that. And if they've also been seen going in and out of trees. That sounds a little spooky, but if their energy, if they can change it into energy, they could go into a tree. I had some very incredible people tell me that they saw this, and I've never seen it myself, but also the people that are beating on trees might be disturbing somebody there. I don't know about that, but trees are very important to these things. I think that's what happened up in Port Locke, Alaska, when I was up there on that filming thing with the Discovery Channel. They had previously, years ago, highly timbered that area. Mm-hmm. And eyewitnesses from a helicopter flying back there. I think they were, messing up the environment, really, and taking trees, because these things have a thing about trees. Trees are alive. You know, they're very important to us. And you don't realize that because we use them for everything, lumber, for houses, for chairs, furniture. We'll burn it. You know, we're taking it for granted because there's so many of them. But the trees are important, and I've had so many reports around that people seeing these things when they're clear cutting or cutting trees. Mm-hmm. I believe it's because they use them for energy.
I've heard a bunch of stories too of like they're going to build like a new road through, you know, a wooded area, and they'll end up having issues where like when they leave at night, all their equipment will get torn up or parts of the road will get torn up. So it's like the farther they go into the woods tearing up these trees, the more of an issue they seem to have with the Sasquatch, you know, counteracting, making it so that they can't continue building on the road.
Uh-huh. Yep. Well, anyway, we all got to talk about how to raise our personal frequency because that's what's important on this planet. That's how we get out of this third dimensional environment. Otherwise, you got to repeat it till you learn what you're supposed to learn. And that's how to respond to people with love and compassion. And I like to say that because so many of us want to consider ourselves a victim or consider things that went wrong, but nothing's wrong. Just how you look at it is what's wrong. Look at everything like it's a learning experience, and you're supposed to react to it with careful love and compassion. And when you do that, you're raising your personal vibrational frequency and stay happy. And you'll not get sick like I am right now.
So, Mr. Morehead, kind of jumping back to the tree subject a little bit, I think that's very interesting what you were bringing up about basically these Bigfoot entities using trees as energy. And it kind of made me think about, ancient European and like wild man type lore and even druids, worshiping trees and the green man and things like that. Do you think there could be some sort of connection between Sasquatch and Bigfoot and all these ancient, kind of European tree
even the Fae
tree worshippers?
Literally walking through trees. How many stories have you heard of the Fae going into trees?
Not related, but then who knows? I mean, they might have knew something about trees that we're just talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
How important they are. I don't know. That's a good question.
I mean, if there is some type of quantum component to this stuff too, I kind of brought up the whole thing with the Fae going into this other Fae world, going through these trees. I mean, I wonder if, we're looking at it maybe as like they're going into these trees, but maybe they're not necessarily going into these trees, but rather like using them as like a doorway into somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Could be, yeah. Yeah, a doorway into underworld.
The quantum realm.
The quantum realm, there you go.
Well, people want to know where they go and why they haven't found the body and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
hold that thought. We'll be right back after this brief commercial break. But while we're on commercial break, if you guys don't mind checking out the sponsors of the show, I Know Squatch, Cryptotheology, Snarly Natural Products, Oregon-ite, Dimension Devices, and Big Ape Threads. All information and discounts are available in the show description. Now back to the show.
Yeah, also in my new book, I get into artificial intelligence because I think we're living in some really interesting times right now. And I think everybody would agree with that things are happening worldwide that are kind of concerning. But I call it a wolf in sheep's clothing because we're all going to depend on it. And once it gets its own consciousness, which I think will happen, the way things are going, that's when we won't be. We need to know who we are as human beings, and the image we're made in, because nothing's supposed to be above us. Nothing is above us. We just think there is. You can only live in the now. There's no such thing as tomorrow. It don't exist, does it? Tomorrow's not here, is it? Mm-hmm. So it doesn't exist. Yesterday don't exist because it's gone. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that exists for us is right now. And you got to make the most out of right now to make the most of what life's all about. And I think that's very important. I started trying to live in the now more than plan tomorrow and all that stuff. Even though when we schedule something like this, I write on my calendar so I don't forget.
Still need a little bit of scheduling here and there.
Huh?
So you still need a little bit of scheduling here and there.
Well, we do, yeah. I mean, that's just the way we are. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. I'd love to talk about this stuff. I just wish I was doing better. I got a lot of information that I'd like to share.
So if you want at some point too, we can always schedule something in the future. Even if you're open in the next couple of weeks, even if you're feeling a little bit better, I can always have you come back on, and I would love to keep diving into the book and all your theories on artificial intelligence and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. That would be awesome to talk to you about AI and just all the craziness going on.
Yeah, it's really advancing there, really exponentially. And it will take over someday if we're not able to stop it.
I think it's one of those things too that may have happened to other civilizations through time and other planets, that they end up creating something and that thing ends up becoming more advanced than they are, and it ends up in the end being their downfall. And I'm kind of curious how many species this could have happened to, or if all of these like advanced extraterrestrial type beings that have came here and messed the genetics on Earth may have actually been a creation of something else. And then once they create something else, either one, it's going to become better than them, or they're going to purposefully know from seeing that chain of events happen before to try to make purposely something less than themselves. But coming from the biological perspective, it's like we always want to make something better, 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 better. And it ends up being, again, our damnation, because we want to make something better than us. And once something becomes better than us, then what are we going to do to defend ourselves against this thing?
Well said. Yeah. I think a lot of the aliens are transfer their consciousness into artificial bodies, not biological. And that's what's coming to be offered to us someday. Maybe not us in our lifetime, but to humanity.
I mean, the virtual reality aspect of it might be offered in our lifetimes. I mean, I feel like we're not too far off from the first step that they'd be able to do as far as transferring consciousness is into some type of a system. So these VR systems that they're setting up, I mean, they could be just the next step for once they know how to move consciousness, they can just put it within these systems.
Right, right.
Or even if it is that consciousness, or rather just a copy of that consciousness that isn't aware that it isn't that original one because it has all the same memories as the original one. And the family members wouldn't know any of the different, but there was like that stopping point that it's not that person anymore. It's a copy of the consciousness of that person.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, if an alien wants to come down and expose themselves and say, hey, I can give you 1,000 years of life with no pain, no health problems, nothing like that, and then offer to transfer your consciousness into an AI body, a lot of people would want that and take it. But I got another chapter in my new book on Tesla's manifestation code. If you want to understand the universe, understand 3, 6, and 9.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to me, that means our three-dimensional world. We got to pass. We got to get past it through love and compassion. Once you get out of that, you can go into the 5th and 6th dimension. But that's all you're going to get if you got an AI body. But your consciousness can't go any further. But we're made in the image of a 9th-dimensional beings, Anunnaki. And that's our goal. That's our ultimate thing that we're made in the image of. And they are creators. Anyway, it's kind of spooky but fun at the same time.
So speaking of the whole 369 thing, we've been talking a lot on the show lately about kind of more conspiratorial and secret societies and occult type subjects. And it seems like the numbers 3, 6, and 9 show up time and time again in these sort of conversations, whether it be, 33 with Freemasons, or, 93 in magic and whatnot. So do you think there's any sort of connection between these numbers and what these more occult or secret society type subjects have to say about these numbers?
Good question. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think numbers are very, very important. I know I've been looking at this 369 thing for years, trying to figure out, but all gets really caught. Everybody's got a theory about that,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, hey, it just kind of hit me that we have to go to the 3rd dimension. You won't really understand what everything's all about till you get to the 6th dimension, but then you can't go any further if you're not a created being, a human being. If you're just artificially made something, that's as far as you're going to go. That's where a lot of aliens are now. They're in the 5th and 6th dimension. I think ghosts are seen in the 4th dimension. And that's where a lot of energy hangs out until they decide what body they want to get back into to answer the things they didn't answer properly before. And that's called karma. Yeah.
Or it's like the purgatory dimension. I mean,
yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing I think that people need to conquer is their fear of the unknown. And religion brought us all that, because we're not made to have fear. It's been introduced to us from the beginning of religions.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, God is love, let's put it that way. And if we're afraid you're going to go to hell if you do something wrong, that's fear-based.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anything's right if it's fear-based, because fear is just, once you understand something, you don't have fear with it anymore. I think that's why I had the interaction with the Bigfoot that I had up there, the vocalization back and forth. It's because I wasn't afraid of them. I really wasn't. And I think that has a lot to do. A lot of people, they have this stuff happen to them, and they just get scared off their pants, and they just run away, like one of the guys did up there. But he was also very religious. Now, I went to church, but I wouldn't ever say I was real religious. I just thought that was the right thing to do, and I did it my whole younger life. And but a lot of it just didn't make sense to me. How could a loving God do all this stuff to these different people, And but anyway, I find out that that was the Anunnaki doing different things through all these. Well, anyway.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And this is something we've kind of been dipping our toes into on the show recently. But I totally agree that so much of organized religion is basically fear mongering, and it's about stifling people's creativity and imagination. And these institutions don't want people to think critically, because if you're not worried about going to hell or the end of the world or something like that, then you can think critically about these situations and where we came from and where we're going and why we're here and things of that nature. So I think it's really fascinating to hear you kind of tie that into the whole Bigfoot phenomenon. And as we say on the show all the time, everything's connected in some way. You've just got to dig a little bit below the surface and start to see those connections.
Yeah. It's the fear-based stuff is really for control.
Absolutely.
Getting into the negative emotional realm.
That's why it all came about, is for control. All the way back in Constantine in 326, when he got the Nicene Creed developed from the different fashions of people having different religions, and he said there's just one going to be that we'll follow, and that's the four Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That's all that they would allow. So everybody had to have that one religion. It's called the Nicene Creed that you had to accept. Well, it kept going and going and going. And actually, the Roman Catholic had a lot to do with the fear-based stuff. And it wasn't until 1611 when King James did his deal on 36 scholars, all conditioned up here. So all the interpretation, and I mean, a lot of the interpretation has just been not right. I hate to say that, but it's just not right. And if you start delving into it, you find out. But a lot of people just don't want to do that. They're firm right where they are. They're going to stay right where they are, and you can't talk them out of it. So I don't even try. You just say, hey, if you want to know more, look deeper. And,
no, exactly. I mean, even like when religious officials got together to decide what books were going to be official books of the Bible, and they decided, the Book of Enoch is not going to be in there. And
right, why?
It goes a long way to describing and explaining a lot of the stuff we've been talking about tonight.
Stayed in Ethiopia, though. Stayed canon there, but the rest of the world, it was lost.
Right, yeah. Yeah, Ethiopia's got the right Bible. They got the 88 books instead of 66, 83 or 88, something like that. But yeah, the Book of Enoch wasn't canonized, and you got just the 66 books, and those have been filtered through the brains of scribes, and how this should read to make everything toward their narrative, King James's narrative.
Absolutely.
I don't want to come down on religions, because a lot of good people there, and they have a heart that's right, but their heads just don't go deep enough, and I don't like that, but I don't know what to do about it. I've tried to talk to religious people, about it, but a lot of them are just they're stuck in their paradigm, and they can't get out of it, and that's too bad, because things are going to change on this planet, and they need to know what's coming for them.
Hold on tight, guys. We'll be back with that bizarre stuff you crave. And we are back with the high strangeness. Let's get back into it.
What the Christ consciousness means, because you got Jesus was a man, he was a physical man, but Christ was the consciousness that was within him. That's what we're all supposed to have. That's what we all do have. It's a matter of connecting with it and learning how to adapt with it. So there.
Yeah, it seems like on the positive side, at least from what I'm seeing in these like podcast type communities, it seems like there's kind of a breakaway, like a new age, like kind of Christian movement where they actually kind of dive into this kind of stuff and they actually like get into the philosophy of like why we're here, why we're doing this, how Nephilim, how Sasquatch, how this, all of this could possibly fit within, the belief system of like the Christian Bible and stuff. And I think it's a really cool movement, actually, that there are free thinkers within that community. And I'm hoping that it's one of those things that transitions to the rest of the language, because regardless of which side you want to believe, if you believe in the Christian viewpoint or you don't, I mean, regardless, those stories, they still ride canon with all of these other ancient civilization stories. So it's like, I think all of these different old stories have different pieces of all the same puzzle, and it's just a matter of having a little bit of each of them to be able to figure it out, because they're all told from different viewpoints. So I don't think that anything in the Bible is necessarily false. I just think that it was specifically from one viewpoint, and we have to look at stuff from multiple viewpoints. And the point that I always make is like the Great Flood. Like every single old civilization has these references to this great flood happening. So it's not a question of like if it happened, if it's mythology. Like I believe that it definitely happened at some point, but it's a matter of trying to understand like why it could have happened. It could have been something a little bit more natural, and it's just from all these different people's perspectives, they're writing what they believe was the reason why this thing happened. And I mean, even diving into like the fallen angels, I mean, it rides canon, like you were saying, with like the Anunnaki, which goes into all these other different civilization stories, and connecting in with like Sasquatch, for example. You talk about the fallen angels mixing with the Son of Man and creating the Nephilim. And then you get into the more modern genetic stuff that people have been doing on Sasquatch, and they find this unknown male genetic, and then they find the female human genetic. So it still, again, rides canon with all of these old biblical stories. It's just a matter of like which perspective or viewpoint you want to try to view this from. If you're viewing it strictly from the Christian perspective, or if you're looking at all of these ancient texts as a whole and kind of trying to piece it together with the commonalities between all of them.
Well, I'm a Christian. I'm going to get that out right quick, because just because I say what I say, that doesn't mean I don't believe what Christ said. Because if you just listen to the red letter diction, what he actually say, it makes it really fits with everything. He never said for people to worship him. He just said, follow me. He said, what he's doing, we can do, which means we have all the abilities that he had. We just have been disconnected from it for so long. We've got to reinitiate that within ourselves. We've got to get the Christ consciousness working through us. And that's what I believe. Anyway, what didn't we talk about that you want to talk about?
No, I think we hit a lot of things that I wanted to talk about. I mean, we've gone in some directions that I didn't anticipate us going. I didn't think we were going to talk about religion and all of that. But no, these are great conversations. This is, like I said, stuff we've been hitting on the show a lot. So I think it's kind of a good coincidence and very timely that you brought up a lot of these topics that people might not associate with yourself and
good old
Bigfoot,
Sasquatchery.
Bigfoot type topics.
Well, that's where it all took me, the Bigfoot thing. I think that's the reason I had it, was so that I could delve deeper into what's really all about. And I think that's what brought me around to getting into the science part of it, and then getting into who we really are as human beings. And we were made as creators, and we have to learn how important we are and what we're supposed to do with what we've got, and be happy with what you've got, because you can't be a victim. We have to be acceptance of everything that comes in front of us, because we created it.
And come out on top of it instead of just letting it beat you down. Because, a lot of people like to view it as you either win or lose in life. And the way that I see it is that you either win or you have a learning experience. So, I mean, you're not losing either way if you view it that way.
I tell my grandson in football, we lost. I said, no, you didn't lose. There's no such thing as a loser. You either win or you learn something. Either way, you win. So, anyway, I hope that went through to him.
So it's like the Thomas Edison thing. You just figured out 100 ways not to make a light bulb.
Right. I like that. Yeah. Yeah, you bet.
I'm sorry, Mr. Morehead.
No, I'm just going to say it's been fun being with you guys. I apologize.
Hey, no need to apologize, sir. Like I said, it's been an honor to have you come on tonight. All right, y'all. Last ad break for today's episode. And now back to the show. And before we kind of start wrapping up, would you be kind enough to tell our listeners where they can reach out to you and maybe find your books and your recordings if they would be interested in doing so?
Yeah. Well, ronmorehead.com. That's pretty simple. My name is Morehead, ronmorehead.com. And all my books are there. My CDs are there. They're all downloadable, by the way. And you can download it, or you can get a paperback copy like this is. This is my newest one here. It gets into the AI, into the how they disappear, and the science behind it, really. Because I call it Scientific Answers to Bigfoot Mysteries. And a forward by David Paulides, who I took to camp in 2018. He did a real good job on reproducing the light we saw up there in 2016 in that segment on that missing 401, The Hunted.
Well, I'll definitely be sure to pick up a copy of that book. I know we both enjoyed your Quantum Bigfoot book a lot, and I was fortunate enough to get a signed copy of it at Encounter Quest a couple of years ago.
Actually, I got a signed copy of it at Bigfoot and Bruce, so we both got a signed copy there.
Oh, gosh.
But Mr. Morehead, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's been an absolute honor, and hopefully you and your wife, Miss Carrie, are doing well, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you at some event very soon. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate being on with you guys. And, you take care.
And then hopefully at some point we'll have to set it up so we can come on and talk about AI. Maybe we can do that in the next month or two. That'd be absolutely awesome. But when you're feeling a little bit better, we'll have to come on and dive into the new book.
A lot of the events are going on. I turned down probably 8 or 10 of them for next year just because I really don't like traveling as much. I've been traveling. Mm-hmm. I spent 3 weeks on the West Coast and doing the filming there, and then I got back and had to go up to Kentucky, Louisville, and did some filming up there. And it just, I don't like traveling. It's I'm getting old. Getting old is good, though. That's only one alternative to getting old. The alternative isn't good. Let's put the longer you got to experience things on Earth, the better off you are, because the more opportunities you have.
And the more you learn, right?
Yeah. I was going to say, and after traveling, getting to see the world, getting to see all this stuff, I mean, I'm sure you didn't spend too much time at home, so you might as well enjoy that time at home and find your base and, do your podcast and just have fun, man.
I have traveled a lot over my life, and I've seen as much as I want to see. I can't imagine anything I haven't done that I wanted to do. I've been a scuba diver. I rode the manta rays in South America. I rode elephants in Siberia. I've done a lot of things, and I've been very, very fortunate in my life. I'm very happy that I've been able to do those things. And but all that means nothing if you don't graduate. We all got to graduate.
Get to that next higher level of elevation, the higher vibration.
Absolutely. Exactly. I think you could serve as a good example for a lot of people, not only in the cryptozoology field and, talking about weird stuff like we are tonight, but just everybody in general. I mean, you've got such a good spirit and such a good attitude about things, and one of the most humble individuals I've ever met. And I know we've only had the privilege of meeting a couple times, but I count myself very lucky that I've got to meet you, sir. So
I appreciate that.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. You guys take care.
Yes, sir.
Good night, or good afternoon, or whatever it is.
It's still night here. All right. So if you guys want to get up with us for any reason whatsoever, Shayn, why don't you tell them how they can do that?
Either one, you guys can email us at bizarreencounters@outlook.com, or you guys can get a hold of us through social media, Instagram or Facebook. Instagram is the one that I'm the most active on. Or you guys can go to the link tree. You guys can fill out the submission form, and there is 2 of them. So make sure you guys click the right one. The first one is to contact us, and the other one is to report an encounter to ommencounterreports@outlook.com. And if you don't want to submit an encounter that way, you guys can always call the hotline, and that hotline number is 313-364-1551, and of course, also available down in that show description. And with that, I have been, again, the one that they call Shayn Squatch.
And I have been the one that me and Shane and no one else calls the big bad Boo Daddy, Orin Felix.
Oh, we're going to have more people calling you the Big Bad Boo Daddy. We at least got a few people on Instagram calling you the Big Bad Boo Daddy. I got one guy, man. He when we had the couple of weeks where we were gone, he thought we like stopped doing the show, and he was really bummed out and messaged me and said he's glad we're back. He calls you the Big Bad Boo Daddy. So as soon as I make that shirt, man, he's going to be all over that shit. I'm going to make you that Papa Legba fucking Big Bad Boo Daddy shirt. It's just a matter of time, man. That's the next one on the list after that other design that I've been working on that I've been showing you. So for everybody that's still listening to the show at the end, there's a really cool design that's on the way.
Check it out on the merch store at a date in the future that is yet to be determined.
In the next couple weeks, it'll pop up. I'll make sure I announce it. But anyways, like we tend to do with every single episode, we always stay bizarre. So on the other side, guys, don't be afraid to always, always stay bizarre. Bizarre. Bizarre.
Bigfoot is quantum?